So we've waited a good amount of time here. I'd say about 45 minutes on this. I did set it at room temperature, just like right over here on my resting rack. This is, by the way, it's a dish rack, but it makes an excellent pasta hanging rack because we're gonna hang our pappardelle right there. But this is the color you should be looking for. The nice yellow. Now, obviously, I live in a place in Florida that has really great feral chickens, and they leave lots of awesome eggs, and they're delightful. So the more organic your chicken egg is, the more orange your pasta can be. If you want to fake it, I'll tell you, add a little turmeric to your flour, and it will come up a little bit more. You can add it any time. You can add it with your eggs and that sort of thing. But if a true good organic chicken egg is going to have a more orange yolk to it, and your pasta is going to be more orange. But we don't need all this tonight. And what's great about pasta, the best part about pasta, is that you can freeze it. You make a batch of it, and you go ahead and just put the part that you don't think that you're going to use into your cellophane again. I like to recycle. So there we are. You can actually roll that right into a ball there. Just keep everything nice and sealed up, and I can go right into your freezer or your refrigerator. If you refrigerate and don't freeze, then you probably got a week on this. If you freeze it forever, and then pull it out when it's ready to go and thawed, you're ready to go. All right, so we're gonna work with this amount right here. This is gonna be plenty for the recipe I'm making. So I just go ahead and reform it. I have previous flour from our pasta making segment, and then just take some fresh flour and just make a nice, beautiful mess there. You might hear some standard poodles in the background complaining that they're not getting out to have any fun, but that's okay. But yeah, at room temperature is the best way to work with your dough. Take a little bit of that flour, go ahead and dust it through. Give it a rub. And then, very importantly, this is a $24 pasta crank from Amazon. You don't need to go, if you have the KitchenAid, you can most certainly use a KitchenAid. That's great. It's the same philosophy. You start on one, the setting of one, and whenever you're prepping your pasta roller, whether it be a manual like this one or a KitchenAid, you want to just go ahead and get some flour in there. Lube it up with flour. So, that's what I like to do. I like to take the skinnier end, go into that number one setting, and slowly crank. Keep it going, keep it going. Don't be afraid. Okay. What you want to do at this point, since you've gone through one crank, obviously, probably not going to need that flour for a little bit, so set that over here. I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick fold like that. One fold. We want to make it about the same width as the pasta machine itself. And we're going to go ahead and train it to Go through that. Might look ugly, but you're gonna make it happen. Go ahead and just get it to bite a little bit just by tamping it down, and then go ahead and crank. Don't be afraid. Let it go through. We want to press this dough together so it's like one cohesive shape. Just like that. Good color, good resiliency. It's got good elasticity. Like, it wants to, see how it's bouncing back on itself? You want it to do that. You want it to bounce back on itself. Now you're gonna see that the seams are over here. You wanna keep working against the seam. So you're pressing the air out of this so it becomes one again. And don't be afraid to work hard with it. Be rough. It's got good resiliency too. And we're still on the one setting. We haven't changed anything at all. Just keep rolling it through. Okay. We want to eventually take that seam that's right here. It's kind of hard for me to do. This little seam, how they're joining, we want it to disappear. We're just going to keep going through. But, alright. We're getting pretty close. I don't want it to get too dry. I'm going to switch to number 2. You'll feel it click. Boom. Now we're on 2. Go a little slower. Just like that. Okay? I still want to work against that seam, continuously pushing air out, so you'll find the part that doesn't have the seam, for right now at least. Yes, it will get dusty. You will scratch your nose. This is what it is. So, keep going through on number 2. 2 passes is good. It's still doing its thing. I'm going to go back through the opposite way, because I want to start joining that seam together. There we go. So we've done about 3 passes on number 2. I'm just going to work with this amount here. Just take your pasta cutter. Okay. Now, there we go. I would take that little bit right there and just put maybe even, not even damp, just a moist dish towel over top of that so there's not a lot of air getting into it. Just remember it's there. And then go back through on 2 one more time. Okay, you're still on 2. And we're just going to work with this. Boom. Okay. Now let's go to 3. One more click over. Boom. And at this point, it doesn't matter where you start or stop. What you want to do is go through twice each time. Each time, you'll see little air bubbles being worked out. Okay, so that first pass was on 3, was done on this side. Now we're going to go back through on this side. And we're just about evened up. Let it catch about as even as you possibly can let it. It even means that all the dough is just hitting this roller all at the same time. It's going to be wrinkly, don't worry about that. Just slowly allow the pasta to go through. guide itself. And then maybe one more time. On 3. We're just still trying to mold the dough together. Push air bubbles out. You're gonna see those air bubbles coming through. Don't worry about it. You're gonna see wrinkles. You're gonna see all that. Just like a marriage, nothing's perfect. Just let it happen. All right, now we're going to 4. Set it back in. Let's just make it easier on ourselves. Go with the tapered edge, okay? And you'll see that you still have those 2 adjoined edges. It's getting closer. Slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. As you advance these settings, it's the tighter the pasta gets, the tighter the crank gets. You'll see those air bubbles push out. It's neat. Go back to the opposite way. Just like that. Yep, it can wrinkle up sometimes. Use the palm of your hand and your fingers, or the not the palm of your hand, the outside of your hand and your fingers to kind of just drape the dough. Just cradle it. Switch over to your palm so you can guide it through. And then, you just want to keep working with it like that. Yes, I hear poodles. I have oodles of poodles. Going through. Now, the pasta that I'm making on this particular video is going to be called Pappardelle. It's going to be the easiest to make because we're not going to use the, I hear you. We're not going to use any of the cutting tools. We're going to cut on our own. So let's go through. We're on number 6 setting. Now, that's what makes a great home chef, is that you're going to have distractions in your household all the time. I have furry toddlers. You might actually have real toddlers, like human being toddlers. Now, you can lock them in rooms too, but they may or may not bark. So, I'm at the point where on the setting number 6, I don't have any more seam. There's no more seam. Now we're going to start looking for translucency. As we get into 7 and 8, we want to be able to see. Like, pappardelle is a thicker pasta, but we want to be able to see almost our fingernails and thumb. Like, we want to be able to see through the pasta a little bit. We don't want it to be translucent like a glass noodle, but we're going to run that through. And this is where you do want to start working out wrinkles. You don't want to have a whole lot of creases and wrinkles go through, because we all should be about the same width as the machine at this point on setting 6. Really at setting 5 is when you should be paying attention to that. Now, we've gone through twice on setting 6. I'd like to take a moment to just not stretch, but just allow the pasta to rest in between my hands a little bit. Okay, it helps dry things out. We're going to go to 7. And then we're going to go ahead and just drop that guy right in there. And then the higher the number you get, the slower you should get. And the more conscious you are of those wrinkles and creases, and you can just move your hand ever so slightly, move your arm ever so slightly, just guide it to where the gravity just helps your way through. If you need to stop and reposition your hand, you can. See, there's a little wrinkle right here. It's okay. Just slowly crank your way through and you'll guide your way. It's like ironing a shirt, honestly. And don't worry that it's piling up like that at the bottom. We want that. That's okay. We just have to know how to grab it. So now that we've got the long end of that end just going out, go ahead and grab it and start doing that. Alright, so I've got 2 more cranks, because really, again, I'm looking for this translucency here and I'm not seeing it, honestly. Well, It's close, and yes, I'm using some lighting and stuff like that that is really exacerbating. I want to take it one more step further because I'm looking at the way pappardelle should be. It should be a thick noodle that soaks up sauce, um, but it also should be thin enough to melt in your mouth. It's just a delicate balance. I'm on 7. I'm gonna take this to 8, but what I'm gonna do before that, because this is a lot of dough to work with, I'm gonna cut this in half. One more time. Just like that Daft Punk song. One more time. There we go. A little extra flour never hurt anybody. We're going to 8. Here it click. And then just guide it where it's not bunching up. You'll know how you'll see my hand is moving ever so slowly. My shoulder's moving. I'll start grabbing it like this. Little tension given, just so everything comes out nice and straight. That's the pass number 1. I would go pass number 2 on the opposite end, just like that. Let the roller catch. There we go. There we go. All right. That's awesome. Now let's go ahead and lay that out right here. We know that we have pasta underneath here, and that's fine. Just move that off to the side. It's okay. Let's do this one. Now you may have noticed that I didn't reset to 7 since I started that on 7 and then moved to 8, and then I just took this up and I went straight through with it on 8. It's okay if you skip a step. It's alright. You won't see much difference. As long as it flattens out and doesn't bunch and you don't have any air bubbles, it's okay if you forget. It's happening. It is what it is. Alright. And this one is doing exactly what I said I didn't want it to do, and that's okay. That's alright. I love to have mistakes. So I can show you how to work through those mistakes. That wasn't bad. You get a little crimpage right here. You see that little crimpage? That's fun. Just run your pasta through that same step an extra time. That's all it takes. Everything's fine. You're basically in charge here. You're using this machine the way it was designed. Roll pasta through it until it's perfect. There we go. All of our creases are almost gone. And there we are. Looking for that translucency. Do you see my hand through there? That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that translucency. Even with the lighting that I'm using right now, that's what you should see. You should be able to see my fingers through it, okay? There's that. We're gonna keep going. I'm just gonna move this out of the way. I'll do that part off camera, it's no big deal. But since we have this, pappardelle is about this by this. So you don't want a lot. You can go ahead and take these guys at the end, get them out of the way. All right, so we've got our pasta sheets laid out that we ran through all the way to setting number 8, okay? And we just, again, want them to be translucent. You can see your fingers through the dough, all right? I have a little flour on the table, that's great. Again, it's easier to pull a line than it is to push a line. Now, of course, pappardelle is about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. Have some scraps, that's fine. Throw them over there. You can even get cut and start with a clean line, but now what we're gonna end up doing. Now you can use a broomstick. If you bought this, then Amazon probably told you to buy the pasta dryer wooden thing. You can do that too. I use my dish rack. Open up your finger. Oodles of poodles in the background, of course. Yep. You just want to dry these. They don't have to be incredibly dry. If you're working with this pasta tonight like I am, because I'm making a dish after this video, they don't have to dry for very long. Just enough for you to be able to work with it. You just want to get this out of the way. So, get that drying on the rack out of the way so you can clean things up and work on your next portion of the dish like I am. Just get to feel it. You'll see. Now, if you want to store these, if you don't want to do any pasta, if you're not making a dish tonight and you want to store this for later, you can do a number of things. Let these dry out completely and then put them into a Ziploc bag, like a gallon Ziploc bag, with a little bit of paper towel. What the paper towel does is absorb some moisture and it continues the drying process. Yep, we hear poodles in the background. This is where it is. There we go. Now what I have in that one portion, or in that one earlier video, is about one portion. This is about one portion. In my opinion, one portion of pasta. What's that? And then I have the rest of this. Now here's the thing. We need to go back to about 5 on this. And here's the thing. If it's too tight, you get crumbly, reform your dough. Okay, I would run it through one more time on 5. And then just work your way to 7, or 8, or 9. You just want that translucence.